Shalom everyone, and this time we're studying Parashat VaYera, the book of Bereshit, Genesis chapter 18 verse 1. Okay, whoever knows some spiritual Kabbalah knows that this is a very heavyweight parasha, which means this is a very intense week, especially. Why? On Rosh Hashanah, which is the New Year's, which is the Judgment Day, we read the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, on the 2 days, we read readings from this parasha. And why? As I said, this parasha is always in the month of Cheshvan, Scorpio, and we already said before that after the New Year has commenced, which is less than a month ago. We're in the middle of the month of Cheshvan, and just 3 weeks ago we started to read Bereshit, Genesis, which means we finished the 22 days of the Hebrew New Year time. And basically, after you take a car and you make an overall treatment in the garage, which means you take it apart, you put it together, you clean, you change the parts, and now you need to have a stress test. And this month is a stress test. And a lot of very, very intense energy is coming our way during this month in order to wake us up, in order to prepare us for the challenges of this coming year. And if we're really aware of what's happening, we should take this month as a sample for the coming challenges we're going to face in the coming year. The intensity is so strong, and as I said, this is the time to move on. That was last week's parasha, Lech Lecha, which means get out and move on and do stuff and change, create, and get excited about life. Don't sit down, don't complain, you have no time for that. But this parasha is even more intense because it is all encompassed in the first verse, in the first pasuk. Vayera elav Adonai, and God has been revealed to him, to Abram, be'elonei mamre. Elonei, it means the oaks. But in Hebrew, there's a game of words. It also means the powers, the forces. Vehu yoshev petach haoel, he sits at the opening of the tent. Opening of the tent. That's Abram. He lived in a tent in that part of his life. But the petach haoel means also many, many, many places in the Torah. The Zohar explains to us the opening for revelation. כחום היום. וירא אליו אדוני באלוני ממרא והוא יושב פתח האוהל כחום היום. It was very hot that day. This happened some 4,000 years ago. Why do we care about the weather? Okay? When it says כחום היום, it means it was a very hot day. Every word in this pasuk supports the others. Let's see what the Zohar has to say about it. And the Zohar says something very clear, very important, very intense. Last week we finished Parashat Lech Lecha with Abram, circumcising himself and his whole family at the age of 99 years old. Remember, Abram was on the go, but only at the age of 99 years old, he realized he has to be circumcised. He didn't get it before. Remember, everything we know today about spirituality, the rules of spirituality, how is the spiritual universe structured, it's in the books. But in the time of Abraham, these books did not exist. He had to find it on his own. It was his life mission. It was his life journey. Through his effort, he made it possible for us to just learn about it and know, oh, everybody knows that. No, in the time of Abraham, nobody knew that. Only Abraham, through really giving himself up to all of that energy with so much devotion, all of that path against the whole world, and he made it for us, also for him. But we have the gains because we don't need to make so much effort to realize those basic things. And what is the story? Vayera Elav, verse 13 in the Zohar, Parashat Vayera. I'm reading from the Zohar. Vayera Elav, Amar Rabbi Abba, עד לה התגזר אברהם הבאתים, כיוון התגזר התגלה קולה. אושרה עלי שכינתה בשלימו כדקה יאות. תחזי והוא יושב פתח האוהל. והוא דעלמה עילאה, דשרי על היי עלמה תתאה. אמתי כחום היום. בזמנה דתיובתא דחד צדיק למשרי בה. משרי וי. Translation. Rabbi Abba said, till Abraham was circumcised, he was blocked, which means there were certain very high lights he could not receive. The moment he was circumcised, the commentators are saying, we're talking about this is the third day after Abraham's circumcision. Okay? Since he was circumcised, everything has been revealed to him, which means all the lights have been revealed to him because he was opened. And then the Shekhinah dwelled upon him completely. Come and see. It says, והוא יושב פתח האוהל, and he sits at the opening of the tent. What does that mean? That means that he was connecting to the opening of the upper world, which is Binah. What is Binah? When we study Kabbalah, we understand there is the universe we can understand, perceive, feel with our five senses and the logic of the five senses. But this is only Malchut. That is the 10th level of the tree of life, the lowest of them all. This is the bottom. Okay? Now, there are 9 more layers, dimensions, spiritual dimensions, that it's almost impossible for our mind to perceive, understand, and think about. Okay? The top 3 Sefirot, and that's what's important, the top 3 Sefirot, Keter, Chochmah, and Binah, they are the Godhead. That's how it's called, which means in the flow of spiritual energy, any kind of energy, life energy, success, whatever, they are the source of the flow. And connecting to the upper 3 is everybody's desire, because we all want to feel good. We all want to feel fulfilled. We all want to feel energized. We all want to feel that we are in the zone. Where is this energy coming from? From the upper 3. However, and now, so when we're talking about Petach HaOel, the opening of the tent, we're talking about the opening to the upper 3. Okay? So, on one hand, this is really connecting to the highest level force of the universe, where everything that is good is coming from. However, we know very well that all electric devices we know, if we take them to the main power station and we connect them directly to the outlet coming out from the power station, that will that will come out with a big explosion. Why? Because the intensity over there, just in the coming out from the power station, the intensity is too high for any electric device to be able to withstand. Same thing about us. Those intense lights of the upper three sefirot, on one hand, they are the source of all that is good. Everything that is active, successful, working, whatever we wish for, it's coming from that source, which is the upper three. However, connecting directly to that upper three, it's called connecting to direct light, which means connecting directly to the source of the powers and the energy. Okay? And that's what happened to Abraham that day. And that's why it said the heat of that day. It was very hot because so much power was available and Abraham connected to it directly. Same thing happens on the first 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. So much power is unleashed, released, and being inserted by the Creator into every living human being, that the power is very, very, very intense. You can't imagine how intense this power is. Now, what's the problem? Isn't that what we all want? So we already hinted. When we connect to the main power station of the electric company, that is too high. The intensity, the voltage is so high, it can burn all of us to death. And that's why it's kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, we all want to connect to that power. On the other hand, that can burn us up. So what's the solution? So this is what is the main topic of this week. On one hand, very, very high intensity, a lot of power is being revealed. Vayera means, and he was revealed. It's all about revelation. We all want revelation. We all want intensity. We all want power. Everybody wants to feel high, fulfilled, excited, exhilarated, being in the zone, like a lot of energy, a lot of contentment, happiness, excitement, all of that. The question is, Kechom Hayom means the heat of the day. It's also, when we think about it, we get hot about it. When we get excited, we're hot because we really want it. We have passion for that. When we feel that taste, wow, that's what I was waiting for all my life. That's what happened to Abraham. Okay? However, there's another problem. What is the problem? As we said before, the intensity. How do we resolve this kind of paradox? On one hand, we are so hot about it. We're so excited about it. We get heat of just thinking about it, and when we really realize how great those forces are and how much we crave for them. Okay? And we look around in our society. This is what our society is craving for, to get high. That's why people are working so hard in order to get high, from making great business, having great success in relationships, in everything. It's all about getting it and getting it and getting it and achieving it and achieving it, and a high testosterone, high serotonin, high dopamines, all of that. We are a society that is structured about that power craze and there's nothing wrong about desiring it, because we were created for that purpose. However, as you already understood, there is a little problem with that. When we connect to that power, which is called, we connect to that direct light coming from the upper three sefirot, Kete Chochma Bina, the opening of the 10 connects to the Bina, which is the bottom of those upper three. The result could be very painful. So let's continue. Kechom hayom, the heat of the day, which means the moment there is the heat of the day, that means the sages are saying it's like God took the sun out of its sheath. Does the sun have a sheath? Yes. Today we know about the ozone layer. We know that there are 7 Van Allen belts, which is electromagnetic belts around planet Earth, because if we did not have those belts, if we did not have the ozone layer, the sun will simply fry us. Fry us. That means the upper 3. That means direct light. However, the Creator designed our planet in a way that is so unique, so we have those electromagnetic belts, we have the ozone layer, all of it, in order to allow life to develop. It's very unique. The odds for all of these conditions to apply in one planet are almost nothing. It's not that easy. Okay? So how do we avoid, when we are talking about spiritual energy of the upper 3, that we all created to receive it? We all created to desire it, to crave for it. How do we protect ourselves from getting burned? Because look around. Look at the history of humanity. We see cultures, civilizations, people, like comets in our skies, shining with so much power, so much light, and you see they have that power of this direct light. They're shining so much, they feel that high intensity. But then what happens to them? They just burn into ashes and disappear. Okay? Why? We are not made to receive that light directly without it burning us up. So what do we have in the story? We have in the story that Abraham, he's there, he has that revelation. This is the highest level of revelation of God that any human being experienced since the sin of Adam till that moment. And then the sages are saying that Abraham is stressed out. Why? He's stressed out. Why aren't there any guests? Oh, it was a very hot day, so nobody was outside. You know, the legend is saying because that was the 3rd day after Abraham had his circumcision. So that's the hardest day, the most painful day, especially when you're 99 and you had an operation in such a sensitive place in your body. Okay, so Abraham is stressed out. There are no guests. Give me a break. You are having that godly revelation like no human had from the time of the sin of Adam. 2,000 years passed by, 20 generations, and you made it. Take a break. No, Abraham is stressed out. How come there are no guests? And God is doing him a favor, and he's sending the 3 angels that they look like humans, and Abraham runs to serve them like his life is dependent on it. If you read the text, he's running, he's moving fast. He's 99 years old. He just had a very painful surgery. It's a very hot day. Why? And the answer is very simple. This is the answer for most of the ailments of our civilization. Each one of us, personally, when we read that Parasha and we internalize what it teaches us, we can find the healing for our most powerful pains, diseases, mental aches that we can carry as human beings. It's all about healing the diseases of humanity, especially today. And why? Again, what is our society about? Our society is about getting high, about experiencing everything in color, taste, whatever, extreme sport, extreme taste, extreme luxury, extreme all kinds of events and so on, using whatever you can with no morals and values anymore, just to get high. What's the result? We know after every high, there is a buy. Because the moment you connect to the upper three, to the direct light of the source of the light, God cannot say no. In our world, in our universe, the rule is when we connect to that energy, we get it. The problem is, we'll get burned. We get the high and then the buy. So you see those stars of our society. They reach that high, and with shame and disgrace, they die. Overdose, they live life full of excitement and so on. The depression, the overdose, the fall, the falling apart of people in every field, especially whatever the fields of people are looking for, the great excitement. Abraham realizes, he knows already by then, the only way, teaches us the Zohar, to stop that direct light from burning you up, destroying your life to the core, is instead of focusing of all the heat of cravings that you have, remove yourself from that and make sure that other people get something from that. Which means, do not get the direct light, turn the flow towards other people too. Which means, you want it good, make sure that other people get also something. What will that do? Not because it is a nice thing. Metaphysically, this is how the universe is structured, says the Zohar. If you really want to stop that upper three direct light from burning you, where do you put power stations? Usually next to a water source. Why? We're using the water to cool the engines so they don't explode. Could be nuclear reactors, could be any kind of other power plants. You use water. What is water? Metaphysically, water is the energy of chesed, loving kindness. And what does that mean? When we feel that we are getting burned because we are so hot with cravings and desires and yearnings towards getting it and achieving it, if you don't want to get burned, do something good for somebody else. By this, you generate another kind of energy that only humans can generate. It's called the light of chasadim, the light of loving kindness. Okay, this is a power that humans are capable of generating. That power has a cooling effect that prevents the burning from taking place. Abram realizes that he's on the heat. He's so energized. He experiences such a revelation. He's at the gate of the upper three, like energy like nobody experienced before since the sin of Adam. Humanity never experienced something so high. And he knows immediately that is going to kill me, destroy my life if I'm going to addict myself or to be submissive to that urge to take it all for myself. And therefore, he says, how am I going to save myself? I need guests. I need another person to share with all the great feeling that I have. And then God is sending him the three angels. He sees them as men. He doesn't realize they're angels. He runs like crazy to serve them, to feed them, to wash their feet by himself. He does it because his life is dependent on it. Which means when you feel the heat, when you feel the cravings, when you feel that you want to get high and you want to save yourself from getting burned, do like Abraham. Look around and find other people that need help. And the moment you generate that energy of loving kindness, you generate that power that is like the ozone layer, like the Van Allen magnetic belts around the planet Earth, that will create a protective shield that will save you from getting burned. Our society is in a dark, dark danger because our society is worshiping that high feeling, that excitement without no boundary. Why? If it gets me excited, it must be kosher, must be good. Why? I'm here to experience that. You know, partial truth is worse than a lie because it can deceive even honest and wise people because it's a partial truth. Yes, we're here to experience God's light. We're here to be fulfilled with God's pleasure. We were created for that, and that's why we are programmed to have yearnings for enlightenment and feeling high. Okay? However, one thing, since we were created in the image of God, we need to be independent. We have to be creative. How can we be creative when the endless light of the Creator is giving it to us again, like it was in the endless, in the first stage of the creation? What did we change over here? We have to create a creation of our own. What is that creation of our own? The energy, the light of Chasadim. The energy that we generate by saying, no, I'm not here to be empty and miserable and upset and sit in the dark. No, I'm here to be enlightened, but the only way I can be enlightened, I need to create a vessel for it. And the desire to receive is not a kosher vessel. Just I want it because I want it, it's not enough. That will gain high and by. The upper three and then a blow. How do we see that? At the end of the story doesn't really end with here. As Abraham is getting the blessing, because so much light came in, so the angels bring a blessing. Within a year, your wife, Sarah, will be pregnant with your child. Wow. What a blessing. That blessing came true. That what happens when you have that urge. There's nothing wrong with having an urge and hunger and craving for enlightenment and to feel high. There's nothing wrong more than that. When you have it, you can get so much. One condition. You have to make sure that you're not self-centered, because then you'll get burnt. You need to build a real kosher vessel for that, and that's a vessel that is being created by the energy I create, by getting out of my comfort zone and moving out to be there for others. That is the real vessel that in our universe, this is the eternal vessel. That energy that we created of loving, kindness, sharing, out of our way, devotion for others, that light becomes an eternal vessel that no one can take away from you. You can live for 30 lifetimes, okay, on this earth. This no one can take away from you. Every other gains, like houses, money, fame, will be taken away from us. You know, a person dies, you can't take it with you. What can you take with you? Only the lights of Chasadim, the lights that you generated by giving for others. The more excited you are on doing that, the bigger and stronger the vessel is. This is the secret of true fulfillment. Lasting fulfillment is a true fulfillment. This is the only vessel, the only gain that you can take with you no matter how many lifetimes. you come again and again to earth. All the rest does not stay in your possession. Only that, only the true vessel. At the end of the story with the angels, God is telling Abraham about the next thing, that Sodom and Gomorrah are going to be burned. Why? Because Sodom and Gomorrah, everybody knows today, when you want to say that a certain culture, a certain society is corrupt to the core, especially they're all engulfed with hedonism, narcissism, and self-fulfillment without any trace of humanism, caring for others, or something like this, you call it, till today, Sodom and Gomorrah. So the Torah wants to show us, here you have Abraham, he experienced that heat of that tremendous power of God revealing in the universe, and he creates a vessel for it by running like crazy to serve his guest. He has no idea who they are, but he wants to save his life. He knows how this universe is built. Meanwhile, Sodom and Gomorrah, they are the epitome of selfish people who care only about themselves. They want to feel high, but they don't want to give by law to anyone, just for themselves. What is the result? Their society, their country is being burned to the core, and it's still, the area is called the Dead Sea till today. The Torah tells us last week's reading that the area was green and flourishing till the disaster that happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. Since then, now I think a few months ago, they really found the traces of a great, terrible explosion that happened next to the Dead Sea, that really burned, dried up the whole area, and then it became what we call the Dead Sea because of that explosion. So they finally they found the traces of that. So here it is in front of us. It's not about Abraham or Sodom and Gomorrah, people that lived some 4,000 years ago. It's the Torah teaching us that this week especially is a very hectic, stressful, loaded with energy week, tension. And if you want to save yourself from that, you can build a great power of giving and sharing, knowing that that's the only way to grow. It's not enough to have a great desire to receive. That's not enough. It is a necessity. It's a must-have basic for spiritual growth. If you don't have a great desire to achieve, you can grow nowhere. It's like you have no engine, or you have an engine without any fuel. But if you really want to make it happen, it's not enough, because an engine, everybody knows an engine without a cooling agent will get burnt, will burn itself, and then there's no engine. And because you cannot go anywhere with an engine that got too hot. So you need to cool it down. How do you cool it down? And then you can harness the power, giving. Being there for others genuinely. And by this, it looks like a paradox. Because when you're focusing on making other people happy, it looks like you are taking away your ability to become happy. Because how can I become happy if I'm not self-concentrated about my own happiness? It doesn't work this way. If you want to really enjoy having a great business, it's really okay to be excited about making money. But if you're really excited about making money, but you're not excited by the same way of the value that you give to your customers, you're not going to make it. It's not going to last long. Okay? When your customers realize that you're very excited about making money, but you don't really care about giving service, how long are you going to be able to keep your customers? When you are having relationships, family, community, and you're so excited to take from the family, to take from the community, but you care nothing about giving any value to the people around you. How long do you think that can go on before people are going to stay away from you because you are a taker? Okay? What is the name you're going to gain? Oh, here's the taker. Like, stay away because he's going to be a leech on you. Okay? Same thing in sexual relationships. If you don't really think about your partner, you just think about yourself, it's not a relationship. You're just busy with yourself, so there's nobody there. You'll stay by yourself. It's all about the highest level of excitement and fulfillment, that we are born for that. We are born for that. The only way to keep it is by giving it. What a paradox. So this is the beginning of the parasha, and the end of the parasha makes it even more clear, which means how do you make that work? How this technology can be activated. So as we said before, you go through the story of Parashat VaYera. You read about Sodom and Gomorrah, and it's now, after we explain what does it mean, it's very simple to understand. And then we have the birth of Isaac, and then chapter 22. One of the most powerful stories in the history of humanity. Chapter 22, verse 1. ויהי אחר הדברים האלה, והאלוהים ניסה את אברהם. It happened to be after those things that God tested Abraham. And we learned many, many times the translation is very incorrect, because the Zohar says the word nisa could be translated as a test, but the word nisa is the word nes, which is the word for a miracle. So what's the miracle about the story of the binding of Isaac? And Vayomer elav Avraham, and God says to Abraham, and Abraham says, Hineni, here I am, at your service, whatever you want. Vayomer, verse 2, and God says, Kach na et bincha et yachidcha she'ahavta et Yitzchak. Take your son, your only one, that you loved, Isaac, velech lecha el eretz HaMoriah. Go to the land of Moriah. V'aleu sham leolah. Where's the land of Moriah? That's the Temple Mount. Today we call it the land of the Temple Mount. We still call it Mount Moriah. V'aleu sham leolah, and bring him as an offering. Al echad ha'arim, on one of the mountains that I'm going to tell you. Vayashkem Avraham baboker v'achvosh et chamor. And Abraham got up early in the morning, and he saddled his ass, his donkey. Vaygach, why do we need to know it was a donkey and not a mule or a horse or a camel? Every word in this story is significant, because it's the secret of the technology of how do we harness the upper three direct light, and we make it work for us without it destroying us and burning us to the core. So the Zohar says a few interesting words about it. Very interesting words about it. The Zohar is saying, I'm reading now the Zohar of verse 489 in Asulam translation. כאן יש להסתכל, שכתוב, האלוהים ניסה את אברהם, and God tested Abraham. את יצחק היה צריך לומר. It should have been, if we are talking about testing, the testing should be for Isaac, not for Abraham. How come? הרי יצחק היה כבר בן 37 שנה. יצחק was at that day of the binding, it was his 37 87th birthday. ואביו כבר לא היה בן נוטשין עליו. When you're 37, your father is not responsible for your actions anymore. It's past your bar mitzvah. Okay? ואלמלא אמר יצחק איני רוצה, לא היה בבננה שלו. So, let's say Isaac does not know he is the burnt offering. Okay? But then there must be that moment, and Isaac is asking, Dad, Abba, where is the offering, the lamb for the offering? There must be that moment that Abraham is saying, Abraham is now 137 years old. He's very old. The moment Isaac is getting the idea that he is the lamb for the offering, he's 37. He can say to his father, Dad, I have no idea what you're going to do over here, but I am going back home. Now, Abraham is 137. Can he force Isaac to do that? No, he's too old for that. Okay? And also, could he be punished for that? No, he's not responsible for Isaac anymore. Isaac is a grown-up person. He's responsible for himself. So if Isaac is leaving and going, Abraham won't be punished because what can he do? He did everything he could. Isaac refused. So he could say to God, I did my best. So Abraham had been ordered to bring the offering, but Isaac knows nothing about it till the last moment. When we read that Isaac laid down on the altar and allowed his father to slaughter him, it says that Abraham already took his knife to slaughter his son. We understand that Isaac, who did not hear the commandment from God, just trusted his father so much that if his father needs to kill him, that's okay, I trust my father. So whose test is bigger, says the Zohar? Isaac, for sure. Isaac never heard God, so he can go home. It's like he can't be punished for that. Nobody told him, only his father. Could say, okay, Dad, I cooperate only if God reveals himself to me and tell me that's okay. He doesn't say that. He trusts his father so much. So if Isaac went home, there won't be any problem. Abraham cannot force him. He is not responsible. Isaac is not responsible because he cannot be punished for that because God didn't tell him to do that. Okay? So if you're talking about a test, Isaac's test was much bigger. ומשיב אליו ודאי שצריך לומר את אברהם. We have to say that was Abraham's ניסיון, because ניסיון, the word nes, nisa, means to test, but it also comes from the Hebrew word nes, which translates into a miracle. But the Hebrew word for that is nes. And the Psalms is teaching us lanus velitnoses. The word nes comes from to flee up and above, out of the box. How do you get out of the box? When instead of being focused on your desires, your cravings, your passion, only for that, you push it away and you allow to inject the light of chasadim, which means if Abraham is a symbol of the power of loving kindness, and Isaac is a symbol, as the Zohar is teaching us, of judgment, when Isaac allows Abraham to bind him, and we know there's a binding agreement, that means conditioning, and that's the healing for each one of us and for the whole of humanity. When we, on one hand, simply develop our desires to receive pleasure, excitement, success, achievements, nothing wrong about it. Nothing wrong about it. That's our calling. We were created for that purpose. God created us so we can develop our desires and enjoy the pleasure He's sending us. That was the only purpose of the creation. However, if we receive it for ourselves alone, we know similarities attract. How can I create to the endless light of the Creator if I am selfish and the Creator is totally giving unconditionally with His benevolence? Okay? How can we know similarities attract? This is not similarities. There's nothing so far from each other than endless love on one hand and endless selfishness on the other hand. That cannot work. That always will finish with a bang, with a Sodom and Gomorrah, with a big fire. Wow, what an amazing fire. Then it's dead forever. How do you revive yourself? Is when you bind your desires, you bind them. I want to be happy, but that means I have to make other people happy too. I want to feel good, fulfilled, achieved, accomplished, but that means I have to make sure other people achieve and accomplish too. It cannot be only me. If you want to feel good, you want to have it great, you have to make sure others get it great also. When you do that, that's called the binding of Isaac. This is a part that the Hebrew prayer book, every morning, as the morning prayer starts, you read that story. Why? Because that's a story of our life. If we can bind all our passions, desires, cravings, and urges to be great and to achieve great, there's nothing wrong about it. But it's okay only when we harness it, bind it with sharing. Abram binding Isaac. Only when he takes his knife to slaughter Isaac, and the angel of God appears and said, don't touch the lad. The lad? He's 37 years old. It's a man. It's a grown-up man. No, the word na'ar in Hebrew means, even today, a teenager. And we know what teenagers are about. It's like they have on one hand, they discover the big desires of achievement in every field, making money, being popular, whatever desires grown-ups have, teenagers discover that. The problem is, when you're a teenager, it takes a while till you realize that you have to harness those desires before they burn you up. And that's why, as a teenager, you have highs and lows, melancholy, you have manic depressive behavior, because you have on one hand all of these urges, but you have no idea yet that you have to harness it. So Isaac, as a left column, which means passion, desire, and so on, without the harness, it's called like a teenager. In Hebrew, they call them today, in the modern Hebrew, tipeshesle, the fool teens. Why foolish? Because when you have no way to harness your passions and you just let them run your life, and you get so much excited by the high and buy and high and buy, and you just, how can I get high? And then there's the morning after. Till you realize that these are the rules. It's okay to run after the high. It's okay to desire the whole universe and to get it for yourself. Only when you harness it, you bind it with loving kindness. Abram. So Abram binding Isaac. This is the secret of mental health. This is the secret of true success. You don't kill the lad, you harness him, you bind him. And the name of the story is the binding of Isaac, not Abraham's test. Because the binding of Isaac is the message for us. For Abraham, says the Zohar, that was a miracle. Abraham thought that in this world there's a place only for giving, only for chesed. And what is God teaching Abraham in the binding? No, it has to be an active chesed. It shouldn't be sitting just. Chesed does not mean sitting there passively and just give and turning the other cheek. Chesed means taking control. How do you take control? The fire has life only when there's a cooling agent, which is, let's do something for others too. When we get that idea, that secret, we can perform miracles every day. What is the miracle? That on one hand, it's okay to have it and to have it big. On the other hand, you want it to stay without it killing you, without the heat burning you up. Inject loving, kindness, care, genuine desire to make it good for others too. That's the biggest secret, and that's the secret that humanity, especially nowadays, must learn. And therefore there's so many articles in this parasha in the Zohar talking about the end of the days. And it's all about the ability of humanity on one hand to harness so much power in our generation that is being revealed like never before. Never before so many people were facing so many options. For so many generations, only very few people in every society had an open way. All the rest were serfs, slaves, subjects. Today, the world is changing, but we all must understand this secret. So by this, we can feel true accomplishment and true redemption. That means the Messianic age is all about getting this idea. You want it? There's nothing wrong about it. You want it big? Great! But you have to harness your desires and bind them by a real, genuine, loving kindness desire to serve the rest of humanity. Thank you so much, and a lot of good luck, especially in this week.